So for something totally different, we're going to go with largest plants. And one thing I found out when I put this slideshow together is that it really depends on how you define large. You can look at things many different ways, and because of course there's much interest around the world for being able to claim having the largest of anything, trees especially, the people have come up with many different ways to define largest, and also the weaknesses in the internet and Wikipedia that are not, sites like that are not regulated. There's a lot of false information out there that people seem to just blithely be believing. There's also a lot of other large things you can look at, the largest leaf and the largest flower and so on. So I have also included those just for fun. The largest tree by height is a coast redwood in California, Sequoia sempervirens. This one's been named Hyperion. It is 380 feet tall, they figure, and that ends up being 35 feet taller than our downtown Des Moines Marriott, and about two-thirds as tall as 801 Grand, which was previously known as the Prudential Building, I think. And so next time you look at those buildings, think of having a tree either taller than the Marriott or, you know, two-thirds of the way up the height of the 801 Grand is still getting to be very tall. The trunk volume, the bole volume of this tree is estimated to be 18,600 cubic feet, and as we'll see at the next tree we look up, that's actually considerably less than some trees. It is estimated to be 700 to 800 years old. It is in the cypress family, the Cupressaceae, and I can't tell you where it is. They are keeping its location from the public because of concerns about trampling and damage to everything located between the tree and the closest place you could park a car if people did know where it was. It is in the Redwood National and State Parks on the California coast all the way to the Oregon border. So this one had 18,600 cubic feet, and if you look at the largest tree by volume, the General Sherman, a giant sequoia, which is a different genus altogether, Sequoiadendron giganteum, its trunk or bole volume is 52,500 cubic feet. So, you know, getting close to 3 times as much volume as the previous one. And they estimate that weighs 2.5 million pounds, and that's not even including the branches. To give you an idea of how large this tree really is, it lost a branch that was 100 feet long and 7 feet in diameter. Now many people would consider that in itself a very large tree. This one is much older than Hyperion. It's estimated around 2,500 years old. Also in the cypress family. And I can tell you where this one is. It's in Sequoia National Park, California, 100 miles east of Fresno. It's kind of central eastern California, I guess. And along with this tree in the giant forest there's also another 4 of what are considered the 10 world's biggest trees. So you can see quite a few at once in this area. Here you can get an image of, or a mental image of how big this tree really is, and also how close you can get to it should you go to visit. And then on the left you can get a mental image of how frustrating it probably is to be a photographer trying to take a picture of something that tall. It's very difficult to get a good representation, and that is the General Sherman. Now the largest tree by trunk diameter, not the tallest and not the heaviest, is probably a baobab, or a monkey bread tree, called, its Latin name Adansonia digitata. It is called the Sunland baobab or the big baobab. It's on a farm in South Africa named the Sunland Farm. It's in the Limpopo province of South Africa, which is on the far northeast side of the country. It is 35 foot in diameter and 153 feet just to walk around it, the circumference. So pretty darn big, but only 72 feet tall, and so, you know, not even a very tall tree by hardly any standards. And novelty, when the new people took ownership of it in '93, they cleaned out a few thousand years of debris and stuff that had accumulated inside the hollow trunk and have converted that to a barn and wine cellar. So you can really get to see this one. And the problem is you have to go to South Africa to do it. It's estimated to be 6,000 years old. That's by carbon dating. And it's in the Malvaceae, the mallow family, which has many herbaceous, smaller, fantastically less huge plants in it. Here's a couple pictures. They do have a website that I put at the end of this file that you can look up, and they have some, 360-degree in the round things you can look up, and many pictures of people hanging around. And there's a couple guys in the bar there. So the almost largest tree by trunk diameter, this one claims in several places to be the largest, and it's interesting enough that I decided to include it anyway. It's a Montezuma cypress, again in the cypress family, like the two sequoias that we saw. This one is Taxodium mucronatum is the proper name. It's called El Arbol del Tul. I have no idea exactly how that's pronounced. The Tree of Tul, because it's located near a little town called Santa Maria del Tul in Mexico, Oaxaca. So this could be called the largest trunked tree, because some people want to say the big baobab has 2 chambers. It all depends on how you split things. I think the baobab has been genetically typed that it is genetically uniform throughout, so that really wouldn't mean that it was 2 trees that had somehow grown together. The circumference of this one is 119 feet, so considerably less than the baobab. Diameter of 38 feet, still getting good and big, and estimated to be somewhere between 1,200 and 3,000 years old. Unfortunately, that's about going to be as far as it gets because it's dying due to pollution, high traffic, and drought that have led to severe soil compaction around the tree. And one of the novel things about it is children like to gather around it and draw images of animals that people envision in the bark. So here's a photograph of the Montezuma cypress, Tree of Tul, and you can indeed see how you could imagine some animals in that bark. You can also in the lower left see fencing around it and development right up to the edge of it, and one can imagine a tree this large is going to need a little bit more of a root system than what's being allowed there, and that probably is what's led to its decline, unfortunately. Largest tree by canopy. One of the tricks that trees sometimes do is spread by roots, and this one had the Guinness Book of World Records in '89. It's a ficus, Indian banyan tree, Ficus bengalensis, I would think, in the fig family. It's named after a woman that is part of a legend about how the tree started growing. With all the new shoots that it's put off of from runners, it covers over 8 acres. So pretty big canopy there, many different stems, but genetically uniform. Thought to be a couple hundred years old, and this one is in India, in actually a botanical museum encompasses this location of this tree. And you can get an image of what it looks like. Goes on like that for 8 acres, and again, you have issues with development and sort of, people loving things too much can happen to these things. However, one that has recently, in the 1990s, people have decided is all one tree, all one being, all one organism, I should say, is in Utah. It's a quaking aspen, Populus tremuloides, which they have called pando, which is Latin for eye spread. So it is a clone of genetically uniform shoots that have spread, and they estimate close to 50,000 stems covering 107 acres, weighing 6,600 U.S. tons. The age isn't known. I saw ages estimated at 800,000 years and 8,000 years and everything in between, but it's been regenerating for thousands of years, so it's very difficult to age that. It again is possibly dying because of pests. There's a lot of herbivory. Everything from cattle to elk and deer eat every little shoot that it manages to send up, and climate change and who knows what else. It's in the willow family, like all of the aspens and cottonwoods. And this one is in Fish Lake National Forest in south central Utah. This is the look. It looks like a birch, but it is an aspen. Okay, the largest leaf. This one is under debate. It's a little difficult to get out into the tropics and measure the leaf of every tree out there. It seems to be pretty good agreement that some of the raffia palms are probably the winners in this race. Probably Raffia regalis, could be Raffia foraminifera. As you can see from the two pictures there, they are definitely very big leaves, up to 25 meters long, and also very wide. There is yet more people out there that want to say, well, this is a compound leaf and the largest simple leaf, and that actually belongs, the largest simple leaf belongs to the elephant ear carol that we talked about when we went through the Ericaceae. The Titan arum, we also have already seen, is the largest unbranched inflorescence. That spadix in the middle is actually a collection of flowers, and so it's an inflorescence, not a flower, and but it is unbranched, so it's one of the hair splittings that allows this one special status. If you want to see another really large example of this, look on page 3 of your textbook. And to underscore the fact that it is a multiple fruited, a multiple flowered inflorescence, this is the fruit you get out of it once it's done blooming and sets seed. You can see the wilted leaves that have withered and fallen to the wayside, and you can also see that kind of funny speckled stem that is characteristic of the plant. Now the largest inflorescence, oops, clicked ahead there, is a branched inflorescence that is on the talipot palm, which we've also already seen. It's from 3 to 10 feet tall, and again you can see the people and the building structures in these pictures, so you can get an idea of how large these flowers really are, these inflorescences really are. Estimated to contain millions of flowers when they're all blooming, and you can imagine that they produce a lot of seeds once they're done. Now the largest single flower, so this is an inflorescence, this is a flower, one single unit here, is called the corpse flower, Rafflesia arnoldii. And in a family all to itself, as you can imagine, this is something pretty unusual. It is up to 3 feet in diameter, up to 24 pounds, found in the rainforests. It is it's parasitic. There's no chlorophyll in this plant. It is parasitic on a certain genera of vines that grow in the tropics. It is at risk because of encroachment of development into the tropics. And additionally, it blooms fairly rarely, and then when it does bloom, the flowers are unisexual, so it needs to have another flower of the opposite sex nearby in order to be pollinated. It is called corpse flower because the animals and flies that help with pollination are attracted to rotting flesh, and so that's what it smells like. And there is a website there, www.parasiticplants.siu.edu, that has a lot of other very interesting plants pictures. For more information, Wikipedia has a page on superlative trees, obviously running into the problem of is it the biggest if it's the tallest or the heaviest or the widest or the oldest or what. And the environmentalgraffiti.com also has some interesting information on the world's largest. The aspen clone, you can find a newspaper article there, and the big baobab, as I mentioned, they have some interesting pictures where you can see the inside that big tree. So that is a review of some of the largest plants.